Happy Independence Day, folks, and welcome to my Friday night SmackDown review for July 3rd, 2020. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying your 4th of July, regardless of whether you're here in the United States or outside of the country. Either you're having a great holiday or a great Saturday in general, so either way, it's a win-win. But this review should be on the shorter side for two reasons. One, so you can go out and enjoy your Independence Day, and two, because there really wasn't a lot to this show, for better or for worse. I thought, I'm looking at my review right now that I wrote up for nextdaywrestling.net, cheap plug, for last night, and there really isn't a lot to discuss. I thought it was a decent show overall. I will mention it now because I'll probably forget it later. They did do a bit of an extended video package on the history between Braun and Bray as the Wyatt family. I thought it was well done. It honestly left me cautiously optimistic for the upcoming street fight at Extreme Rules. The issue is that we've kind of seen this footage before. I feel like there's only so many places they can go with the Bray Wyatt Braun Strowman feud, at least until we reach that next stage, because I feel like we've already seen them recap the black sheep mask and the fact that Braun was in the family. If it was Bray and Luke Harper, for example, or even Bray and Eric Rowan, I could see them milking this for a few more months. The issue with Braun and the Braun and Bray feud is that I've been enjoying it so far. I've been liking what they've been doing with it. The problem is that Braun wasn't really in the Wyatt family for all that long. It was actually less than a year. From when he debuted the night after SummerSlam in 2015 up until July 2016 when the brand extension happened. He went to Raw, Bray went to SmackDown, he broke off on his own, and that's really about it. And obviously Braun has grown in that time, but they've covered all of that already because the feud started 2 or 3 months ago. And they did take a month off from it. Bray had a child with JoJo, his second child, actually, after already having a first child almost exactly a year earlier in May of 2019. JoJo went and had another kid in May of 2020. So she got pregnant by, I'm not a mathematician, but doing the math in my head, she got pregnant 3 months later. That's pretty crazy, but God bless them both. The feud's been fun. I'm looking forward to the street fight just to see what they'll do. Not a lot of people, it's kind of difficult to say really, but there are definitely a portion of people that are tired of, are worn down on the whole cinematic match thing. And I totally get it, because what we saw with the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders back at Backlash was fucking terrible. So if you were to tell me, listen, Graham, I am sick of the cinematic matches, I don't want to see another one, I don't blame you, because we've seen so many of them. A lot of them I have enjoyed between AEW, WWE, even Impact, but that one from Backlash was terrible. That was bad. So we'll see what they have in mind for Braun and Bray at the pay-per-view. They did announce, this is amazing, so next week they're airing the full match between Braun and Bray from the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Now, it wasn't a bad match. I'm not going to sit here and say it was awful. I thought it would be a lot worse than it actually was. It wasn't a bad match. Wasn't good enough, though, to justify airing it in its entirety on SmackDown. I would rather they air a replay of the AJ and Bryan match with no fucking commercials from about a month ago for the Intercontinental Championship. I would rather watch that again than see Braun and Bray from Money in the Bank 2 months ago. It's not like they're airing a classic match they had as the Wyatt family. That would be one thing. We literally just saw this match. And I guess the idea is, the regular TV viewing audience had never seen it, and we're going to hype it up before the pay-per-view. Is it next weekend? I don't think so, right? No, I think it's in 2 weeks. It's July 19th is the pay-per-view. So we got some time. But yeah, that's what they're promoting for next week, is Braun and Bray in its entirety from Money in the Bank 2 months ago. Not even, actually. Who cares? But I thought overall this was a decent show. Definitely a mixed bag, though, for the July 3rd SmackDown. The first hour I thought was great. It really went to shit in the second hour, though. There wasn't anything too terrible, but in the first hour alone, you had 2 awesome matches between Matt Riddle and John Morrison. Imagine saying that to yourself from a year ago. Imagine going back in time, taking a DeLorean, which celebrated 35 years yesterday, by the way, Back to the Future 1, which we did a live watch-along of here on the channel yesterday, so check that out, Alexis and I. We had a great time. But imagine taking a DeLorean, firing up the flux capacitor, going back to 2019, July of 2019, or maybe, let's say this time last year, and telling yourself the opening match on SmackDown is going to be Matt Riddle versus John Morrison. And obviously, a year ago, Matt Riddle was in NXT. It wasn't too far-fetched to think he would be on the main roster at some point. But John Morrison on SmackDown facing Matt Riddle sounds bizarre, Because at this time a year ago, I'm pretty sure John Morrison was still the Impact World Champion. Or no, wait. I think he actually lost the championship, but he had his last match at the pay-per-view that month at Slammiversary. I think against Rich Swann, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that's kind of crazy just thinking about it now. But they had a great match. AJ Styles and Drew Gulak for the Intercontinental Championship. Awesome match as well. That was supposed to happen last week. I'm not sure why it didn't. I thought AJ was sitting out the whole pandemic thing or until the whole COVID thing blew over. Sheamus was not on this show. I mean, technically he was via satellite or whatever, but he wasn't there in person for the segment, which I thought was telling. Neither was Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan zoomed in during the Intercontinental Championship match. A lot of people didn't like it. I totally get it. I didn't mind it. It definitely was distracting. You could tell Bryan wasn't watching the match, which, I mean, the guy is zooming in, giving comments. It's better than not having Bryan on the show at all. I thought it was better than doing like a Skype interview with a guy before or after the match. It was interesting. It was something that we haven't seen before. I can see why a lot of people did not like it, but whatever. It kept Bryan on the show, furthered the feud between him and AJ Styles. He likely would have sat in on commentary, had he been there. So I assume Bryan was like, listen, all these people testing positive, I'm all set. I'm sitting this one out, especially that he has a newborn on the way. And I think Brie is due like in a month from now. Brie and Nikki both. I think they should be due pretty soon. But he has a young one at home, so I totally get it. So he wasn't on the show. Sheamus wasn't on the show. Otis has not been on either. Otis has not been on. Mandy Rose has not been on. I'm not sure. Mandy and Sonya had their feud going there, and it looked like they were building to either a rematch at Extreme Rules or on SmackDown. We've heard nothing about that in the last couple of weeks. Mandy's been persona non grata. Otis has also been persona non grata, which is odd, because Otis is Mr. Money in the Bank, and it looked like they were setting up an Otis and Corbin feud, but they actually changed gears and went to Corbin and Matt Riddle instead. And honestly, I don't hate it. I don't hate the idea of a Matt Riddle-Corbin feud. I said as much when I interviewed the guy 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, Matt Riddle, for dailyddt.com. We talked about how when you get to the main roster at some point, this was mere weeks before he made it to the main roster, I asked him, who would your, not dream opponent, but who would you like to face upon getting to Raw and SmackDown? And he said, other than Brock Lesnar, of course, King Corbin. King Corbin eliminated him from the Survivor Series, tri-branded elimination tag team match or whatever back in November. And then Corbin eliminated him from the Royal Rumble, which they didn't bring up here. Corbin interrupted Michael Cole's interview with Matt Riddle in the ring. They didn't bring that up, I don't think. But it makes sense as a first feud for Riddle to win and go on to do bigger and better things, probably go for the Intercontinental Championship coming off his win over AJ Styles a week or two ago. It makes sense. I think that was 2 weeks ago, actually. The time fucking flies. But anyway, so yeah, no, I don't mind it at all. I saw a report from it was some guy from Sportskeeda, and I think he's gotten some stories right for the most part. So I'm not saying his source is complete shit, but he had reported that King Corbin didn't want to work with Matt Riddle because he felt like it was too soon for Matt Riddle to be in a feud with someone of his caliber, which sounds like absolute crap. I mean, I don't know King Corbin, I don't know Baron Corbin personally, but that sounds like absolute garbage to me personally. Corbin sounds like a pretty cool dude. He's put over a lot of people in his time on the main roster. I mean, Corbin himself, his first feud on the main roster was with Dolph fucking Ziggler. So if that's his stance about, he has to go through jobbers before facing me, is completely ridiculous. If anyone should feel that way, it would be AJ Styles, who was the fucking Intercontinental Champion. But he lost to Riddle, and so should Corbin. I see no difference. If anything, AJ is obviously a lot bigger of a deal than Corbin, so Corbin should have no problem losing to Matt Riddle. The only thing Corbin should be losing, in addition to his matches to Matt Riddle, is the fucking King of the Ring gimmick. The King of the Ring crown, all that other crap. I mentioned that before. It's gotta go. It's gotta go. I mean, Corbin, I like Corbin a lot. He's made the most of the King thing for the most part. It ain't working. It hasn't worked. When he won, it was decent. I still think Chad Gable should have won. That's neither here nor there a year later. And he had some awesome matches in that tournament, but the gimmick is just completely terrible TV. The whole King Corbin thing, I just want to change the channel anytime I hear the dun dun. Not his theme song. His theme song is great. The King song is what's annoying. So anyway, Riddle and Corbin had their back and forth on the mic. It was fine, setting up a future match between the two. As I mentioned, the Riddle and John Morrison match I thought was terrific. I thought they worked wonderfully together. It's a real shame that John Morrison doesn't mean more than he does at the moment. The guy came back 6 months ago and is already another dude on the roster. And I have no idea what the fuck they're doing with the Miz and him both. What are they doing? I mean, Morrison came back. They were doing some great work, and they still are doing good work together. But they win the SmackDown Tag Team titles shortly after reuniting. They hold them for about a month or two, about a month and a half, lose them on SmackDown, fail to regain them. They lost to Lucha House Party recently. I thought they lost to another tag team. I can't remember. I think they got pinned by Lucha House Party again in an 8-man tag team match like a week or two ago. They lost to Braun Strowman at Backlash. They lost here. It's like they can't catch a fucking break. I don't know if they're headed towards a split between the two. And honestly, at this point, I'm not even really sure if that'd be the worst thing. I said that like a week or two ago, like don't break them up. But at this point, if they're not going to feud with the New Day again, which been there, done that, what more is there for them to do as a tandem? So I don't know. But I thought this was a great match, though. Riddle winning clean despite The Miz being at ringside, Corbin being at ringside. Riddle still won, which was cool. He got attacked by AJ Styles afterward, which brought out Drew Gulak, which I thought seamlessly transitioned into Gulak and Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I never actually thought for a single second Gulak was winning, but it was cool to see Gulak look as good as he did in defeat, have such a great showing, put in an awesome performance. They got a ton of time, too, at like 17 minutes. And I'm thinking with a lot of these matches, they gave them as much time as they did, was because they wanted to have like a shorter show with less segments, less people, because I guess they're working with a limited roster right now. Like the main event segment with Hardy and Sheamus, the toast or whatever, that bullshit was like only 10 minutes long. Not even. It was like 5 to 7 minutes. Which on the shorter side is good, but why did it close the show? Like I'm sure no one came into SmackDown thinking, oh, I can't wait for that toast between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. They didn't advertise, Riddle and Morrison or Styles. I think they actually did advertise Gulak and Styles ahead of time. That would have been a better main event. In my opinion, that would have been a better main event. Because I had no interest in that dumb toast shit. And I don't mind the Hardy-Sheamus feud, but they got to stop it with the whole drinking thing. And that jumped the shark like a month ago. If it hasn't already jumped the shark with the dumb urine segment, the hit and run, and all that other bullshit. I thought that was terrible. But yeah, Styles and Gulak working wonderfully together once again. Gulak looking great in defeat. The Brian comments that were well done. I know I'm not in the majority there, but I thought it was well done. So yeah, a good match. Maybe for Extreme Rules, they could set up a Styles, Bryan, and Riddle triple threat. That sounds like it would be SummerSlam worthy to me, but if Bryan... I mean, I don't know. Do you do Bryan and AJ again and then build the Styles and Riddle at SummerSlam? I don't know. I still think it'd be too soon to take the belt off of AJ at that point. He should have a long run ahead of him and have maybe Riddle be the one to ultimately take the championship from him down the road. But I was thinking about that. Maybe a triple threat. But what you can do in the meantime, probably next week on SmackDown or the week after, they should do AJ in like a tag team, like AJ, Miz, and Morrison, or Corbin, Miz, and Morrison, versus Riddle, Bryan, and Gulak. How fucking sick would that be? Because obviously Bryan and Gulak are partners, they're buddies, they've been a team now for a while. But Riddle and Gulak go way back. I mean, obviously, Gulak saved Riddle here from being beat down by AJ before the Intercontinental Championship match started. But for anyone who knows their history dating back to Evolve as part of Catchpoint, it'd be pretty cool to see them reunite, albeit briefly, for one night only on SmackDown along with Daniel Bryan. That would be a sick triple threat. Six-man tag team match. AJ, Bryan, and Riddle is a definite. Not AJ. Gulak, Bryan, and Riddle versus either AJ, Miz, and Morrison or Corbin, Miz, and Morrison. Or you could do like Morrison, Corbin, and AJ, but then Miz is off to the side. It's weird. Unless he's injured, I'm not really sure why he wouldn't compete. So I'm thinking they're setting that up for a future episode, and that has the potential to be a lot of fun. And they had a great match, Gulak and Riddle, did almost exactly a year ago. I think at that Evolve 10-year anniversary special on the WWE Network, which it's amazing how much can change in a year. I mean, they had that Evolve special on the WWE Network a year ago, with Riddle and Gulak and Adam Cole and Akira Tozawa for the NXT Championship. And then you have like a year later, and I've been to 2 Evolve shows in that time. I went to one back in September in New York, I think Brooklyn to be exact. I think it was a Brooklyn Evolve show. That's where we got to meet Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae and Walter Cassius-Ohno. Alexis and I went to another one in February, in Queens on Leap Day actually, on February 29th, where we met Rhea Ripley, Ciampa again, and who was it? Keith Lee. And we had a good time at both shows. The first one was better than the second. But in that year, since they first aired that Evolve show on the WWE Network, Evolve is no more. Apparently, anyway. WWE buying them out. That was the big report this week. that Evolve is no more. I don't think WWE, in my opinion, would continue to run shows under the Evolve banner. I just don't see what purpose that serves. I mean, I guess they could, but they already have as many properties as they do. I just don't see the purpose in that. It's not like it was this big money-making brand. It was kind of like the feeder system for NXT. And a lot of great talent in WWE right now came from Evolve, from Gulak to Riddle to Johnny Gargano, obviously, Timothy Thatcher, among others. McIntyre had a run there before coming back to WWE and after getting fired the first time, among many, many other people. So it's not like it was a completely pointless promotion. It did serve a purpose. It was, created a lot of stars. I just don't see WWE really doing anything with Evolve aside from probably putting their tape library on the WWE Network. So that's that. Also on SmackDown, we saw Bayley take on Alexa Bliss after they aired a tribute video. Bayley and Sasha did to themselves on this show after The Undertaker they had one for The Undertaker a week ago on SmackDown. Bayley and Sasha saw fit to do the same for themselves, and that was interrupted by Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, which led to Sasha volunteering Bayley for an impromptu match, despite not being dressed for a match, which I appreciated. First of all, Bayley should be commended for having as long of a match as she did with Alexa Bliss in regular street clothes. And then also, I thought they did a good job of making it seem, not sporadic, but like seamless. It's not like she was already in her gear for no reason, and then they just had a match. Like, that happens a lot. That happened with Zelina Vega a couple months ago, where she had a match with, Bianca on Raw, but she already had her gear on for some reason. That's stupid. That was dumb. This I thought was well done. The match was okay. Wasn't really anything to write home about. It is worth noting, though, so tension in the ranks here between both tag teams, I think, which is kind of weird because the women's tag team division needs more teams. So Sasha volunteering Bayley the same way that Bayley volunteered her for a match multiple times. First with Nikki Cross a couple weeks ago, and then with Tamina before that and whatever. It's happened multiple times. So Sasha doing the same thing to Bayley, I thought worked well. It was a nice storytelling technique, whatever. I thought that was cool. So then, and obviously, hopefully that's building to a match between the two at SummerSlam. I've already spoken my piece on that. But then you have Nikki Cross, getting involved in the match and costing Alexa Bliss the match unintentionally. Bayley got in her face and she attacked Bayley after attacking Sasha at ringside. So Nikki Cross unintentionally costing Alexa Bliss the win. Now, Alexa Bliss wasn't like, oh, why'd you do that, blah, blah, blah. They didn't show any signs of tension between the two. But what between what happened here and the fact they've lost all their tag team title matches, I don't think it's completely out of the question to say that Alexa Bliss, now that I think about it, might cost Nikki Cross the championship at the pay-per-view. With her justification being, if I can't win the SmackDown Women's title, then neither can you. And I think it would be something that they've been building to, but haven't been as obvious about it, like they have been with Bayley and Sasha. It's possible, because SmackDown's women's division, I was thinking about this yesterday, is going to need more heels after Sasha probably goes tweener or face to face Bayley. They don't really have many heels on that show. They have Sonya, and she's doing great work, but you need more than that. I thought they were, turning Carmella a couple months ago. That never really went anywhere, but something to keep an eye on with Alexa Bliss maybe portraying Nikki Cross come the pay-per-view, we'll say. But yeah, I thought the match was fine. Bayley, she has her weeks where I think overall she's done very well as a heel in the last month or two. But they were fucking completely over the top on this show. Like, I enjoyed the shtick on NXT this week. When they're on every single show, it becomes a little much. Just because I don't know. It just feels like they go a little too over the top sometimes, Bayley and Sasha do, like they did on this show. Overall, they've been a very entertaining act, but I don't want to see them overdo it. So also on SmackDown, we saw Shinsuke Nakamura knock off Kofi Kingston. Good match, and they got plenty of time, but do I really need to see an 11-minute match between two guys that are in a tag team right now? Not really. Didn't make me care any more about seeing Nakamura and Cesaro challenge for the SmackDown tag team titles at the pay-per-view. It's actually next week on SmackDown that they're doing New Day versus Nakamura and Cesaro, the rematch, this time for the SmackDown tag team titles. Again, good match that probably would have meant a lot more a year ago. I mean, they actually have done the match before. I think it was on I don't know if it was the SmackDown after WrestleMania, but it was like a SmackDown or two after WrestleMania last year, after Kofi became champion. It ended on a DQ. Nakamura was in a tag team even then with Rusev. So I just kind of find it hard to care. It's kind of hard to believe that a year ago, Well, I mean, 2 years ago, Nakamura was in the midst of a WWE Championship program. He had won the Royal Rumble that year. And then a year ago now, Kofi Kingston would have been the WWE Champion. And now they're in the fucking tag team ranks. And that's a cool get for the tag team division, I guess. But the feud doesn't really mean anything. The feud has no juice. We have not heard from the New Day at all. We have not heard from Nakamura and Cesaro at all on the show. So why should I give a shit? The matches have been good, and that's great. But why else should I care? And then, like I said, we'll keep this short and sweet, but the Sheamus toast for Jeff Hardy, or the Jeff Hardy toast from Sheamus, who wasn't even there. He appeared via Zoom or Skype or whatever, via satellite. It wasn't a good segment. The whole thing with the urine and the drive, the hit and run and whatever with Elias and Sheamus and Hardy about a month or two ago, I thought that was fine. I wasn't a big fan of it. The urine thing was terrible. This wasn't quite as bad, but it still did not make me want to see a rematch between Sheamus and Hardy at the pay-per-view, which I assume is where they're going with this. And by the way, Cesaro teased tables previously after their win over Kofi on this show. So I assume maybe that ends in a non-finish and they build to a rematch at the pay-per-view and like a tables match or whatever. I don't know what type of match Sheamus and Hardy would have. I hope it's not like a fucking bottle on a pole match or something incredibly dumb. But then again, at this very same pay-per-view, I think, about 5 years ago, they did Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler in a fucking kiss my arse match. So I put nothing. I put nothing past this company. So anyway, it was whatever. The thing was crap. I mean, Hardy, he poured the drink on the guy's head, and I thought he would just splash him with it and have that be it. But instead, he smashed another bottle over the guy's head, which I thought was a little much, and then hit him with a swanton bomb. I thought the bottle was a little extreme. I mean, obviously it's a rigged bottle, but in storyline, Hardy looks like an asshole for taking it on this guy who didn't really do anything aside from offer Hardy a drink. I mean, okay, you could splash the guy with the drink in his face. That makes sense. To fucking smash a bottle over his head seemed a little much, but anyway, this was kind of dumb. So overall, a mixed bag, like I said. I thought the first half of the show was very good with the Matt Riddle and John Morrison match, the AJ and Gulak match, and both matches got a ton of time and ate up like the first 45 minutes of the show. The rest of the show I didn't really care too much for. The swamp fight stuff, like the look back on the Braun and Wyatt feud was well done. I don't give a shit about them airing the replay for the Money in the Bank match next week between Wyatt and Strowman from the pay-per-view. No thanks. The Hardy and Sheamus shit was just a weak way of going off was a weak way of going off the air. The Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Nikki Cross, Sasha story was fine. Nothing to see there, really. And then the Nakamura and Kofi match was good. It was well wrestled, but that feud has like no juice at all. I mean, Kofi and Nakamura should mean a lot more than they currently do. But anyway, those are my 2 cents on SmackDown for July 3rd, 2020. Thank you guys for checking out my reviews as always. If you want to check out more of my SmackDown reviews right here on the channel or on nextwrestling.net, you can do so on the website, but also here on the channel in the description box down below. Check out the playlist for all my SmackDown reviews right here on YouTube. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. And we should be back tomorrow. What's going on tomorrow? Oh, it's WWE 365 on Ricochet. That should be interesting. They're like, oh, they tweeted on Twitter on Monday, what an incredible year for Ricochet. I don't know what year you were watching, my man, but it was far from an incredible year for Ricochet. Maybe on Main Event, but that's about it. So I'll be watching that, reviewing that tomorrow right here on the channel. Be sure to watch it, check it out, enjoy it. But have a great one, guys. Have an awesome 4th of July. I should be going off to a family member's house later on today. Enjoy the Rays, enjoy the day, and then hanging out with Alexis later on today. Maybe watching Stranger Things. We were going to watch it a year ago today, and we never really got around to it. Maybe I'll start watching the show later on today, which I know I'm like fucking 5 years late on that. But hey, better late than never. Enjoy the day, folks. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.